Alright, so here we are in mid-June. This is the cauliflower that I had started in, I think it was late February. This is the Bermeo variety. This is a variety that's supposed to do well during the summer. And so this one's looking like it's getting ready to be harvested, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I of course put this caging around the cauliflower and some of these other cauliflower plants to try and deter the rabbits, which has seemed to work fairly well. I just didn't want to take any chances, especially as the cauliflower got later on into development, of any type of herbivory from the rabbits or anything like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and, as carefully as I can, remove this caging. You know, a bunch of different plants have like grown up into it, like the peas have used it for support, or maybe I can just slide this up. Here we are with the Bermeo cauliflower head, or curd as they're often called. Here is another cauliflower curd that I just harvested. It does kind of seem like this one got eaten up a little bit by some type of insect. I'm not totally sure what insect, but you can kind of see like the curd, it looks a little chewed out in places, not quite as full and smooth as the other one. And this one is also a good bit smaller. So what was just shown here was my first successful cauliflower harvest ever. So I did just harvest 2 heads of cauliflower, or curds, and then there are some others on the plants that are probably going to be ready within the next week. And then of course there are a bunch of other plants as well that might be a few weeks before those heads or curds are really ready to pick. So the cauliflower heads are probably a little bit smaller than what you'd expect to find in like a grocery store. Part of that could be on me, because the last few weeks we've had a little less rain than usual, and I didn't really get out there to irrigate or to water those particular plants. But overall, I'm really happy with the results, and so I am now transplanting out the second batch of cauliflower for the summer season. And this again is of course the Bermeo variety, so it's the same variety that I used in the first batch. However, this time I'm doing it a little bit differently, because this season I've realized that cauliflower is essentially candy to rabbits, and I really have to take the extra effort to protect these cauliflower plants from these rabbits that just will otherwise annihilate the plants. And so I'm not taking any chances this time, and I am just surrounding each cauliflower plant in a metal cage, right, made of chicken wire. And I'm really being mindful of how I install it around each plant. And so to illustrate what I'm talking about, let's go check it out. Alright, so I just finished planting out the second round of cauliflower. This is the Bermeo variety, so it's actually pretty heat tolerant compared to a lot of other cauliflower varieties that are out there. So I'm planting this one in, it's mid-June. The fleabane has been in flower for a couple of weeks. The parsnips have been in flower for a couple of weeks as well. And the staghorn sumac berry clusters are actually beginning to turn pink, right? They're going from that flower stage to that berry stage, so they're in the middle of that transition. So what I've done here is I transplanted the cauliflower again, and then I planted it with tomato plants, right? These tomato plants have been here. I planted these here, I think, last week or so, and now I've planted the cauliflower here, and I put some grass mulch on top. Now what I'm doing also now is I am actually putting metal chicken wire cages that are about 2 feet tall around the cauliflower plants, and this is to keep the rabbits away. The rabbits do not really seem to go after the tomatoes at all, so I'm not putting the cages around the tomatoes, but they are around the cauliflower. But it's important to make sure that we know how to put the cages around the cauliflower, right? Especially this early in the season, spring and summer, when some of the rabbits can be pretty small and young. We want to make sure that we have the cages, the bottom of the cages, that there are no gaps between the bottom of the cage and the ground, right? Because a lot of these rabbits can kind of, dig, kick up some dirt underneath and dig through, or just, squeeze in between and get into the cage and eat the cauliflower. I have witnessed this myself. So there are two options we can do, right? Now that I have the grass mulch down, it makes the first option a little dicey, where you can kind of partially bury the cage in the soil. So ideally, you'd do that before you put the grass mulch on. And then the other option is to actually you can use tent stakes or pieces of wood that you can kind of carve into makeshift tent stakes. They only need to last the season, so that's a biodegradable option. But what I'm going to start off with here are the just some tent stakes that I have in a bag, and I'm going to go ahead and hammer those in so that these cages can be secured to the ground. So I'm not sure how many tent stakes I'm going to use per cage yet. I might be able to get away with 2. I was thinking 3 might be good to hold it. It might depend. I might even be able to do 1.5 if some of the cages are close together. So we'll have to kind of go with it and see. Alright, so thank you so much for checking out this video on caging cauliflower and also the cauliflower harvest that I did in the beginning. If you have any insight or any experiences when it comes to keeping rabbits or other similar rodents away from cauliflower, please feel free to share them down in the comments. But in the meantime, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Take care.